Hey guys, Taylor Rick back again, another Echoes of New Eden Shorts. Hey, this week on the main show, make sure you're there. Huge battle going to be going on. We got the championship round of the Battle Belt Royale Rambo with cheese, whatever the hell we call it. I think the name changes every week, and I just forget about it. Actually, the name's probably always the same. I just don't listen to Crimson. Anyway, so it's going to be a huge battle. We got $2 billion on the line in prizes. Make sure you're there in a T5 ship with anything fit to it, any nanocore, any implants, doesn't matter, as long as it's a Tier 5 ship. That doesn't mean a Praxis because it doesn't have a tier level. That doesn't mean a faction cruiser because it doesn't necessarily have a tier level. It still has a meta level or something. I don't know. I don't think you can fly a succubus on day one, but maybe I'm wrong. At any rate, it's a T5 ship. Anything that's specifically labeled as a Tier 5 ship or less if you want. Could be a cruiser. We had some stabbers there, or actually I think we had some caracals there too over the last few weeks. And of course, anybody is welcome to come and just shoot the shit out of all the guys that are participating in the competition and really make it spicy. We've had Balgorn show up. We've had Tempest Strikers show up. Damon Zell likes to show up in a Tempest Striker for some reason. At any rate, you can blow them away too. So have fun. It's going to be a great chaotic event. So I'm looking forward to it. A quick update from last week's carrier ratting video. Everybody wanted to know exactly what I meant by insta-retrieving fighters. So I've got a little video that I'm showing right now. It's really simple. You just act like you're going to swap them out, but you don't. And this doesn't work if you don't have at least one extra one in your fighter drone bay. Fighters, drones, same, whatever. In the fighter bay. If you don't have one in the fighter bay, this doesn't work. But as you can see, as I just showed you in the video, you slide them up as if you're going to return them. You don't put anything back down in the fitted area. You hit cloak and off you go. Super quick, super easy. Doesn't matter if they're 350 kilometers away, 20 kilometers away, 400 kilometers away, 500 kilometers. Doesn't matter. Instant return. As fast as you can do that motion, 1, 2, 3, boom, 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 unfit, 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 cloak, done, you're gone. That is your insta return so that you can go directly into cloak. Good to know, especially if you're jumping into one of those beacons. At any rate, today we're going to be talking about how to make Omega every single month. There's lots of ways to do this. If you're doing carrier ratting, then you can make Duo Omega in a day and a half. So this is all a matter of scale. In fact, right now with the extra loot, the loot alone from a cap special, which there are plenty of them in Fountain, to go run, well, that 2 hours, 3 hours of time that you take to get there, do it, and get out is going to give you enough loot all by itself to buy yourself Duo Omega. So the easiest way to get into this, though, outside of carrier ratting, is all the way back to tried and true, been here for well over a year, very long time, almost 2 years really, coming up on the 2-year mark since Player Outpost. So I guess 2-year mark was probably like January of 2021. Player Outpost structures or player-owned structures, POS, player-owned structure. And that's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. This is going to be a really quick one, I hope, because it's really simple. Although some people don't know the mechanics around a player-owned structure, a POS, and how these things work with double REMs in the low slot. As you can see that I've got pulled up on the screen right now, this tune in planetary production is 554 with 2 REMs, resource extraction modules. Those are actually about as expensive to build as the Outpost itself is. So not quite as bad as trying to build, like, say, a sea lion for a work wool, but at any rate, they're expensive. They're about, I forget what they're at right now. The last time I looked, I thought they were 650, 700 million a pop, but who knows, because the PI prices are all over the place, and the PI prices are way up, actually, and it takes a ton of planetary materials. And by the way, for those that get confused, planetary materials or planetary production, PP, we call it PI, planetary interaction. That's an old hangover from EVE Online. So if anybody was ever confused by that, it's PI. So here we go. With 554 and 2 REMs, you can see that I am doing 6 planets, 6 plus 6. It's confusing when they say 6 over 6 over 6 plus 6. But there's 20 mines on each planet. If I go 554, that 21 goes to 20, or 20 goes to 21. Or maybe it goes up one more. I don't know. I'll go pull up the skills here in a minute and look. But that's actually 20 mines now on one planet. As you can see right here, I've got those broken up in between opulent compound and heavy water. Heavy water is your best mineral extraction for your power consumption for a player-owned system, for a pause. Player-owned system, Jesus. I need another beer. At any rate, that's your best bet. Heavy water is your best bet. Here's 2 reasons why it's your best bet. It's the lowest yielding in gigajoules, but it's the highest producing in terms of the amount you get. I've only got a certain number of mines on this, and I'm getting half, I think. I got it broken up half between the 2 of them. I'll show you in a second. But that's 6,696 items per hour. You can see the hourly output per factory, 418.5. So you get a boost, obviously, because of the security level where you're at. That's why you don't put these things in low sec, although you can. So total output efficiency, 6696. That's a lot. That's a lot. So that times what? 12,000 gigajoules an hour? Well, an REM takes 9,000 gigajoules per hour. So you're going to need like 18,000 to get this. So if I go into mining settings, yeah, I've got 16. So maybe not half. I only got 4 in opulent combat. Still, that's quite a bit. So that's reason number 1. The volume is there to make up for the gigajoules to get what you need, because every resource extraction module is going to take a ton of power per hour, and you're going to need to produce that power in order to keep the outpost running. The second side benefit to it is you get, because of the amount, when you're going and doing your Concord pass, if you have 1 outpost on your character with 2 REMs, you're going to be able to complete all 1,750 of your Concord points every week by simply coming into this screen and hitting launch. That's the other key thing here. If you watch this and launch this, for those of you that don't know, all of this is going to go directly to your outpost. You don't have to go pick stuff up at planets anymore. For me and most of the guys that I played with, we all know this. We've known this for a year and a half. But I was recently informed that there are still new players coming into the game. Holy shit, I had no idea. But they are, and they're just getting into pauses and don't know the mechanics of how these things work. So I figured this is partly a refresher, but also partly an eye-opener for those who don't realize how much money can be made from an outpost in order to pay for your Omega or your Duo Omega. It's enough really to probably pay for 2 accounts for Omega easy, and definitely Duo Omega if you do it right. And I'll show you how. That's what this video is about. Duh. Need another beer. Okay, so and notice the time too, 72 hours, right? When you put one of these things on there, it increases the amount of time before you have to come back and push the button again. And when you push it, it updates all of them. That's nice. That was a feature that was updated here recently, so you don't have to worry about doing that. You never have to worry about a space hold. You've got 72 hours before you have to come in and push the buttons. Although, if you're doing heavy water here, you're definitely going to want to make sure that you're pushing the button every single day, because it'll just fill up, and then it's not mining, and then you're going to be less. You're going to be running out of heavy water. It takes a ton of heavy water in terms of volume in order to power this thing. Let's go in and look at the structure fittings. So on my outpost, I don't put anything on it. I mean, I could care less. If someone comes and tries to hit this, I'm not going to come in here with this character and sit on it. That would be stupid. I'm going to come into my other characters with carriers and nightmares and whatever else, and to protect it. So, or just let it die and build another one. Whatever. It's cheap. So there's your fuel consumption, 9,000 per hour. That's how you want to go figure it up. This initial fuel consumption that it says of this gigantic amount, 720,000. This is another really important part. Whenever you're starting one of these things up, you want to make sure you already have about 1 million heavy water in terms of the volume. You want to make sure you have that much sitting already, so that when you install these things and it starts up, you don't run out. Because if you don't have enough, if you have just enough to get it started and then it starts, and then an hour or 2 later you haven't put any more in because you haven't farmed enough yet or whatever, and it runs out, you got to put this 720,000 gigajoules back in here again. There's another 400,000 or 500,000 heavy water right there. And heavy water, as good as it is for using it for power, it sucks to move. It's the second worst thing in the game to move next to Tritanium. So Trit's really bad to move. This is every bit as bad. So don't do that to yourself. Most people like to go in here with the high slots and put medium missiles. For me, I'd probably put small missiles, because if for some reason I'm ever going to man this thing to fight against somebody, It's because it's some dipshit and a nemesis who thinks he's being funny, and it would be hilarious to just suddenly start, nuking him with a small missile. Those small missiles have a huge amount of range. Your skills don't apply. None of that stuff applies to these fittings, so it doesn't matter. You could have no missile skills whatsoever, and it's going to do the same amount of damage as it is against anything else. And smalls, of course, for small ships, mediums for medium-range ships, large for battleships. If you ever put large missiles on your outposts and I see a kill mill and you had large missiles installed, I'm going to laugh at you. They're useless. Mid slots, you could put webs, you could put newts. I would go with newts, all three of them, large newts. They have a much longer range than even a Balgorn has. So newts definitely are good to just make somebody stop dead in their tracks and they can't move. But again, for me, I'm never going to man this damn thing, so who cares? So now the important thing to talk about. All this is well, great, and said, but how does this apply to making Omega every month? Because obviously regular Omega is 170 plex. You can do the math and figure out exactly how much money that is. It's usually in between $450, $500 million, or million ISK in game. If you do Duo Omega, it's $15, $16 US. In game, that plex wise, I think it's 500 plex or something like that. So now you're talking about 1.25 billion ISK. To do it. So how does mining out of an outpost make that much, how do you get that much production out of it? And it really comes back down to two things. One, you've got to look at this screen and see in the constellation that you're in, where your outpost is anchored, what systems have what materials. So where you anchor this thing is extremely important, because it's not a matter of you just being able to pull in material from anywhere in the map, or just the system that you're in. It's going to be able to pull in materials from every planet in every system that's in the same region of space that you anchored. So you have to look at the map, look at the regions, and see. But even better, we have this great tool brought to you by Jarmaug that I'm going to pull up now in the recording and talk about it. This tool will help you find the best sources of PI in the region, which by sources of PI means what they cost to sell, or what they're worth on the market. There's great market tools in here as well. And this is one of those things where I can't really sit here and break all this down for you to tell you exactly which ones to go and put up on the market. That's a hard thing to do. But you can look at these charts, and these get updated every single Wednesday. And you can go and see and look at historical numbers of where the PI value is going, whether it's dipping down, whether it's dipping up, what looks like it's about ready to explode in value, what looks like it's falling in value. And you can adjust your PI levels every week when you either adjust your Concord points or you adjust whatever it is you're doing. Have a schedule, have a routine. Every week, go and look at these numbers. They get updated on Wednesdays. This will give you a good, solid, firm grasp on what you should be mining if you're doing it for just trying to get the biggest bang for your buck. And then, of course, that allows you to sell those on the market and get your money, get your plex, pay for your Duo Omega in game. Again, Omega is very easy to do. That's a piece of cake. Duo Omega is going to be hard. You can get there depending upon the PI value. Right now, the PI value looks like everything is going up. As you can see on some of these charts, there's a few that are going down. Stay away from those, obviously. Don't do the old buy high, sell low. That is for Dirkadur's investment firm to do, not you. So with that said, you definitely want to be monitoring these charts, definitely want to be selling these. And of course, this leads to the next point. If you're selling this PI and you're trying to do it to raise money to pay for your Duo Omega, then you definitely need to make sure you're trained in accounting so that your taxes on the market themselves go down. Now, I can hear it right now, people saying, oh my God, that's a waste. Don't do that. You should contract everything. And you're also correct. You should be contracting everything because that's only 8% versus the best you can do on the market is like 11 or 12%. I forget because I don't do anything on the market like that. Everything I do is on contract or on Discord. So you're going to need to make sure you've got a good supply, a network of guys who are buyers, builders, whether that PI is for ships or whether that PI is for structures. You're going to need to make sure you have a good network. And yes, I know everybody tells me that industry is dead. Nobody needs all this stuff, yada, yada, yada. Man, they're right and they're also wrong. I have not stopped building capital since February of this year, late January, early February, and I don't see any signs of it slowing down. We've got 4 of them in queue right now going at the same time. That's the most we've had all at once in months and months and months. To me, it feels like things are heating up on the capital market, and capitals are the kinds of things that have to get replaced, not by insurance, but by building again. So those are things you want to look out for. Definitely on the structure, definitely not on the structure PI, but more on the ship PI, I think. There's a wider variety of those. They go for more money. They seem to be a little bit easier to find. So you're going to have to do some research when you do this. If you're already anchored somewhere and you've got nowhere else to go, either it's because you're SOV or because of your area. If you're in void, there's plenty of places to anchor. There's nobody there. But any other place on the map, you might be pretty crowded, right? So in those cases, you just need to be judicious in looking at what that region is, what that region can extract. Make sure you use this tool that Jarmaug has made. It's an easy website to go to and look through. Fabulous tools. It's a great way to make sure you can maximize the amount of money you're producing per hour. And one last pro tip here before I let you go. You need to think about your fuel source as well. If you're really trying to maximize this, I know I just spent, I don't know how long, talking to you about the benefits of heavy water. However, if you land in an area where heavy water isn't plentiful enough, you're going to wind up putting more than 1 planet on it, or 2 even. 2, maybe even 2.5 planets, and the number of mines on it, like I've had to do with this one here, in order to get it. In that case, you need to move to your next best type of fuel production. That could be liquid ozone. It could be ionic solutions. It's sure as shit not plasmoids. Please don't farm plasmoids to power your outpost. I will kill you. That's just such a waste. It's ridiculous. Plasmoids are going for a ton of money right now. Everybody needs them. They get consumed. They have to get replaced all the time. That is going to almost always be one of your primary ones you're selling for your Duo Omega. If you're trying to reach that and you're not doing plasmoids, it might be tough. Then again, if you don't have a planet in your region with plasmoids to begin with, then you ain't doing it. Don't do it unless it's super high on the, I don't think any of these are going to show me, where it's got this filled in square, right? That's perfect. You want to be looking for ones that are perfect to maximize the amount you can get out of that. Otherwise, you're losing money. In some cases, though, you might not be. Again, this is a spreadsheet game. Even with all the lists and everything else they've put into it, you're going to want a spreadsheet. You're going to want to game this out. Take a look at Jarmaug's layout here with everything in the app that I'm going through and scrolling through and tapping on while we're talking. But you're definitely going to want to go through and spreadsheet this out and figure out what your maximum profitability is per PI. And you're going to need to do it on a weekly basis. It is a lot of work, but it will pay. It's a few hours each week. If that, even once you get a system down, it might only take you 20 minutes because, again, your collection of your PI is button, tap, 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 tap every day. Whoop-de-doo. And then sell it and make sure you're selling it through a network of some kind. Make sure you're selling it to your local buyers, but make sure, first and foremost, you're taking your time. If you're going to go and sell it on contract and stay away from the market, then take your time. Don't go and try to dump it, because that's where you lose all your money. And as soon as you've lost something on it, you never gain it back. It's just never coming back. I don't care if you sell something today for 100 and say, oh, I could have sold it for 175, and next week you sell it for 180. You didn't make it back. That bunch you sold for 100 is lost, and you'll never make it up because you could have sold it for 175. So you just lost that 75 each, and it'll never come back. So be mindful of that. You're definitely going to want to make sure you're careful, patient, and slow and methodical. If you're coming down to the end of the month, you need a couple of $100 million to get your Duo Omega. You don't think you're going to get there with your PI. Go rat. All right, that's it. That's it for this week's Echoes of New Eden Short. I'm Taylor Rick. Make sure to subscribe. Our analytics show us that about 50% of you don't subscribe, and by now you've probably already stopped watching. But at any rate, it is what it is. Look forward to seeing you this Thursday night on the live show. It's going to be a blast, as always. That's it. 07. Fly something.
The trap is sprung.